Hey guys, welcome to Digit.in, and what we have for you today is our review of the Sony X90J, which is Sony's 2021 flagship LED TV available in India and is a successor to 2020's Sony X90H. Now, the Sony X90H was Sony's ready for PlayStation 5 TV. It came with two HDMI 2.1 ports and ran on Sony's X1 Ultimate chipset. This TV out here runs on Sony's XR processor, which is Sony's cognitive XR processor, and it is, like the name suggests, right, it is going to look at the picture that you're watching with the eye as people would. And if, let's say, you're going to focus on certain characters or certain things in a scene a lot more, the processor is going to ensure that that looks absolutely perfect before working on other aspects of the scene. And it's actually very interesting to see how this translates into real world usage. Now, of course, we are going to kick things off with the most important thing about this TV, which is the display panel and the picture quality. This is a VA panel, and it does not have Sony's X wide angle technology, which I think is good in this case, because not only does the TV produce some really good blacks, but it also has some punchy colors all around, and the viewing angles are actually pretty good. So if you have a wide seating area, you can enjoy this TV from some angles, but going way too acute towards the side is, of course, going to, you're going to notice a color shift. But if you are somewhere within the vicinity of right in front of it or slightly to the off angles of the TV, you are not going to have any problems. Now, before we get into some real world scenario performance, let's quickly run you through what we found through our Calman analysis of this TV, and this is one of the most accurate TVs out of the box that we've tested. The Bravia X90J is a ready for Calman TV, which means that we can actually calibrate this TV very easily using the Calman software and the Video Forge Pro pattern generator, and of course our colorimeter that we have. And what we found on this TV was that it is actually pretty accurate out of the box. As you can see from this pre-calibration capture, the average delta error is 2.1 for the colors, and for the grayscale it is 2.9. Now remember, the human eye can perceive errors only beyond 3, delta error 3, and anything below that is not perceivable by the human eye. So out of the box, this TV actually has some pretty accurate output. As you can see from the grayscale autocal, we could manage to get a maximum delta error of 1.3 with the average delta error of 0.3, and as you can see, all the red, green and blue lines are very close to 0, exactly where they should be. In the CMS calibration, once again, you can see post calibration we had an average delta error of 0.3, and in the color checker analysis we got an average delta error of 1.3, which is really low and is actually really good. Same for the saturation sweeps, we got an average delta error of 1.2, again very great. Now in this next color checker analysis, which is for the cinema preset on the TV, you can see that we got an average delta error of 1.8, which means that even out of the box, the color calibration of this TV is actually very, very good. Now at the 2-point grayscale, you can see that the average delta error is very close to 1, slightly above 1, which could be 1.2, 1.3, and all the colors RGB are very close to the 100 mark. Again, this is pre-calibration out of the box, which is actually really, really good. Now while the peak luminance versus window luminance out here shows 506 candelas per square meter, we can actually tell you that the peak brightness of this TV actually hit about 700 nits, a little more than 700 nits, and we had sustained brightness somewhere close to the 550 nit mark, slightly below that, but we can call it close to the 550 nits mark, which means this TV can get really bright. So if you are going to consume content on this TV in a brightly lit room, you're going to be able to make out the details not only in the bright sequences but in the dark sequences as well. Now coming to some real world performance of this TV, we played our standard slew of content on this TV from Netflix, from Prime Videos and from Apple TV. We saw way more content than we're going to talk about because we use this TV for a really long time. So kicking things off with the regular stuff that we watch, things like Our Planet, Altered Carbon and other HDR content on Netflix actually looks good. Stuff like Our Planet really has these punchy colors of nature which really pop on this TV when you're watching it in Dolby Vision content. For Dolby Vision, you have Dolby Vision Bright and Dolby Vision Dark, and of course just leave it on Dolby Vision Bright for when you're in a well lit room and dark for when you're watching it at night, and it just adjusts the settings accordingly, and it is pretty well calibrated out of the box for the colors. One thing to note is that while the TV has an auto brightness sensor, so it has the sensors to know the amount of light in the room and change the settings of the TV accordingly, this is a feature we know exists in something called as Dolby Vision IQ, which has been popular in a lot of flagship 2021 TVs. So that's not here on the Sony X90J, which leads us to question why not just use Dolby Vision IQ, which also does the same thing. You know, it judges the light in the room and changes the settings accordingly. Well, Sony's gone with its own solution, and from what we can tell, it's pretty good out of the box, and it works really well for Dolby Vision content. We even saw a movie like Wonder Woman, the original one, not 1984, on the Apple TV app, because we purchased it over there in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, and the experience was really great. Even the race at the 11-minute mark in a movie like Ready Player One, of course some of this footage we can't show you for copyright reasons, but trust us when we tell you that that race has the sunlight coming in, the green flash for the race to start, the changing track, it all looks very immersive. So safe to say Dolby Vision content is a lot of fun to watch on this TV. Even HDR10 content, of course this does not support HDR10 Plus, so 10 Plus content is streamed in HDR10 from Amazon Prime Video, be it the Grand Tour, Jack Ryan, or any other show that you're going to watch on Prime Video. All of it looks really good. Now the Grand Tour is a great example of these cars running on this bright desert road, and the bright highlights really do come out on this TV, and we do notice some details that we may miss on a lot of other budget TVs, but you will only be able to see this if you know what you're looking for. So you are paying for that premium experience when you are enjoying content on this TV. Once again, the colors out of the box really look good. Now for HDR10 content and for SDR content, you have the standard slew of presets from Vivid, Standard, Cinema, so on and so forth, and I would suggest you keep moving between the Standard and the Cinema preset based on the content you're watching. So for a show like Young Sheldon, you could keep it on Cinema and you get a slightly more filmic, warm tone to it, but even on Standard, even though it has a slightly cooler tone, it's not bad or it's not inaccurate in any way. It's just that slight difference which for most of you sitting at home and watching this content, you would enjoy it in both the presets. And all the presets that we checked using the Calman software, be it Standard, be it Cinema or any other preset, was pretty close to the color accurate out of the box, which means Standard and Cinema both work. I mean, even for a movie like Spider-Man Homecoming, we switched between Cinema and Standard, and while the environments changed, you got the slightly warmer tone for the Cinema experience. Spider-Man's suit, the blues and the reds in his suit, the skin tones of the other characters in the movies was actually pretty accurate. So safe to say you could just switch on this TV, leave it on Standard or Cinema for 90% of the content that you're watching, and you will have a very good experience. Now coming to gaming, and let's first address the elephant in the room, which is the HDMI 2.1. Yes, this only has two HDMI 2.1 ports. It supports 4K at 120 Hz, but VRR, variable refresh rate, will come at a future date as an update, and Sony says that the update should be out later in 2021 before the year ends. And the update will also come for the X90H for VRR support. So if you're a PlayStation 5 user, then VRR shouldn't really be an issue for you because the console doesn't support it as of recording this review. You should have a problem if you are an Xbox Series X gamer, because that console supports VRR. Also, the fact that you just have two HDMI 2.1 ports, one of which is eARC, means you just have one port for your next gen console, and if you have both next gen consoles, or if you have a both next gen consoles and a home theater, one of them is going to have to work on a slight bit of a compromise. So you should keep that in mind. However, coming to the gaming performance of this TV, you will have an absolutely great experience. Now, we played a bunch of games on the PS5 on this TV, from Dirt 5, which has 120 Hz mode, and that game really needs you to feel the fact that you're driving a car in a desert. So with the sun shining down your eyes in some of these tracks looks really good. Even in Spider-Man Miles Morales, the end game of that game, the last sequence where you have this fight in the night in a snowy environment, all the details look crisp and clear, and when you activate Spider-Man's Venom powers is when the HDR really pops on this TV. Speaking of HDR, we also played Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and that game has so many colors and so many particle effects, and when an explosion happens, once again you're going to experience a great dynamic range on this TV. We played The Last of Us Part 2. Of course, I haven't captured that footage because I was playing late one night, and when you have the Seattle Day 1, Day 2 coming in the bottom right corner, in pitch darkness, you will notice, like I said, a slight bit of blooming around it, but it is in no way it's in no way taking you away from the experience that you are going to have on this TV. So needless to say, if you're going to watch content, if you're going to game on this TV, it's a great experience. The only downside is just two HDMI 2.1 ports for your next gen connectivity. Coming to the sound, now Sony has tried to implement its multi-acoustic surface technology into this TV, something that we saw on the A8H, which was their OLED TV last year. Now with Sony's acoustic surface technology on their OLED TVs, the display itself vibrates to create the sound, which gives you a more accurate sound output. So you are going to, let's say, hear a person talk from a particular position on the screen, and that's exactly where he's going to be. Out here you have two tweeters which are side firing. It has 20 watts of sound output. Overall the TV can get really loud, but these side firing tweeters actually kind of give you a semi surround experience, which of course you're not going to feel like the sound is coming from the side or the top or behind you, but the channel shift from left to right is actually really good. So if you have Tom Cruise on his motorcycle whizzing from left to right of the screen in Mission Impossible, you are going to be able to make that out. Yes, the TV lacks bass, but we used this TV in two different bedrooms for testing it. One was a 12 by 14 and the other was 12 by 16, just for the sound. And in both the bedrooms, the TV created room filling sound at about 40% volume, which was more than enough to enjoy movies. The vocals are clear. You can just leave it at the standard of the movie preset for sound and you should be good to go. Yes, there is no bass, so in the Dark Knight opening sequence where the glass is shattering, you aren't going to feel the thump of the glass shattering, but you are going to enjoy the entire background score and the conversations for that opening sequence, if that is an example that helps. Coming to the UI, now this TV is running on Google's new Google TV UI, and I think it has a way to go. I mean, it kind of tries to streamline your content, give you a visual overhaul, but the For You tab, which a lot of you may have seen in the Google TV, promotional videos, is absent, and I think it's absent for India overall, not just this TV. Also, navigating the Google Play Store needs you to use the Google Assistant because there is no Play Store. There is a tab called Apps. It houses all your apps. It gives you apps that you can download. So there is no way for you to go to the Google Play Store to update your apps. You actually have to hold down the assistant and say open the Google Play Store and then go and check if your apps are updated or not. That's a small gripe. Another thing that I would like to actually circle back to is when you are connecting your gaming console to this TV, ensure that you go into the settings and switch on enhanced mode so that you get 4K and 120 Hz option along with RGB HDR, because when you connect your console for the first time natively, it is not going to be in enhanced mode. So you can just go into the settings and activate enhanced mode, and that should give you the result. If there's anything else you want to know about this TV, drop us your questions in the comment section below, and if there are enough questions on the same topic, we may just do a video about that as well. The TV also has far field mics, which means you could say okay Google and talk to the TV directly, unlike the MiQ LED TV and the Realme TV that has the same feature. Over there, when you mute the mic physically, you get these four really big LED indicators, which are very annoying. But out here it's a very small LED indicator on the TV, and you can actually switch off that LED indicator by going into the settings of the TV, which is great. So you get a more immersive experience on this TV. Last but not least, we have the remote control. Now, this is the same remote control we saw last year, which means it's ergonomic, it's great, it has the candy bar form factor, textured back, the playback controls, volume controls are out here. For me personally, I wish the OTT controls were slightly lower somewhere, so it would just make reaching for it a lot easier. But the fact that they're up here is not a very big detractor, simply because your navigation, source and Google Assistant is out here. So you are going to be spending most of your time in the lower 2/3 of this remote control if you are a part of the cord cutting generation and don't use traditional TV. So the numbers really aren't of much use to you if you are someone that's only consuming internet enabled TV. So yeah, the remote control is the same as last year. It's one that we really like, so no complaints out here. Now here's answering the most important question for you guys is, should you pay 1,40,000 rupees for the 55-inch variant of this TV? As of recording this video, the 65 and 75-inch variant of this TV are yet to launch in India, but the 55-inch is available. And for 1,40,000 rupees, the competitor out here is the LG CX or C10, which is available in its 55-inch avatar for about 1,30,000 to 1,45,000 rupees, depending on where you're buying it from. And you also have a 48-inch variant of that, again close to the 1,20,000 rupee price point, as of what we could figure out at this point. So the thing is, this TV can get really bright, which means if you are going to watch content in a well-lit room, then you are going to enjoy the content of low-lit or dark sequences, simply because this TV can get really bright. Even in a pitch dark room, the content will look very punchy, with the only thing being slight blooming or haloing in absolute pitch darkness. On an OLED, which is going to be a lot more reflective, you are going to enjoy content on the OLED in a pitch dark room, whereas in a brightly lit room, an OLED panel gets a lot more reflective. So those are the options you need to consider before making your purchase decision. When it comes to gaming specifically, the LG C10 wins simply because it has 4 HDMI 2.1 enabled ports with VRR support and G-Sync, FreeSync. It has everything thrown into the mix, which makes it a great experience. This TV has its limitations with 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, but the gaming experience is no slouch, simply because the TV is very responsive and it can get very bright even for a lot of gaming sequences. So I hope that kind of helps answer your dilemma on whether you should go for an LED or an OLED. Both have their advantages and disadvantages when it comes to gaming in particular. Having said that, you really can't go wrong with this TV. It's extremely well built. If you're going to put it on a table, it has two extremely slim feet that kind of slot into place. You don't have to screw them in, and it of course has a very premium build overall with all the connectivity options on one side, 4 HDMI ports, 2 USB ports, and optical AV and other connectivity options that you're probably seeing on your screen right now. So there you have it, guys. That was our review of the Sony X90J, Sony's flagship LED offering for 2021. As always, you can let us know what you thought of this video in the comment section below, and for more from the world of technology, you can subscribe to the channel. We will catch you in another video. It's goodbye for now.